So there is a setting inside of Meta Ads that isn't very obvious, and depending on the type of business that you are, it may very well be worth testing and could actually get you even better results than you're currently getting right now. So let's go ahead and dive right in. All right, so the setting I'm talking about is the maximize value of conversions. This is a relatively new setting, probably introduced 6 months ago, maybe a little bit less or something like that. And it mostly goes unnoticed because it's in a drop-down menu that it defaults to maximize the number of conversions, which has been the default for a long time. So it's what people are used to. So there's no real incentive to really hit that drop down button. But again, depending on the type of business that you are, it could be worth testing. So let me go ahead and share my screen and I'll walk through where to find this and when it makes sense to use this. All right, so I'm going to create a just sample campaign here. I'm going to choose a sales objective right here. I'm not going to do anything with regards to the settings or anything like that. I've done plenty of episodes on how to build a campaign, particularly one in 2026, whether you're using the lead objective or the sales objective. So if you have not tuned into those on how to build an optimized campaign, definitely check those out. I will include that in the notes. But let me jump over here to the ad set settings. So this is at the ad set level. And then in order to see this, there's a couple things that you need to do in order to make it appear. First and foremost, you have to make sure that the conversion location is set to single and website. So you can have multiple conversion locations such as website and app, website and calls, or you can have a single location such as website, app, message destinations. So right now, as I put together this sample test campaign, it actually defaulted the conversion location to message destinations. So I want to click on that drop-down menu and then click on website right here. So that is step number one in order to make that appear. And then the conversion event, we just want to make sure that this is the purchase objective, and in all likelihood, hypothetically, it could be something else. However, I would say at least in 85% of cases, you're going to be using the purchase objective for this type of campaign. And then normally at this point, this is where we would just go on and create a campaign as we always have created them and be done at this section. However, if you click on the performance goal dropdown, which defaults to maximize number of conversions, again, maximize number of conversions has been the default for ever and ever. And then if we click that dropdown, traditionally, what there was here was maximize number of conversions as is the default, and then these other goals that appear towards the bottom. But these other goals don't make sense to use when you are utilizing the sales objective, because you're simply just not going to get sales with these, right? There's a time and place for traffic objective, link clicks, landing page views, all that kind of stuff, which is what you see here. So if that is what you want to be doing, then just change the objective as opposed to choosing sales and then choosing one of these. Don't do this right here. Honestly, I don't even know why they offer this within the sales objective. I think it's just a way for them to make money from you, thinking that you're going to think this is a good idea to choose one of these other goals, but they're not. So you can completely ignore them in all cases. But I do want to draw your attention to the other option, which is maximize value of conversions. So the difference between maximize value of conversions and number of conversions is that with maximize value of conversions, you will be ideally, I need to preface this and be careful here because I can't always give guarantees of outcomes, right? But ideally, what the algorithm is going to do is that it's going to get in front of people who will spend more money, or in other words, have a higher average cart value. So if you are an e-commerce store and in your ads you are promoting a product that maybe it's your best seller, but obviously you're an e-commerce store and maybe you have dozens of other products, oftentimes people won't just be buying that one main product that you're showing off in your ad. They may buy other products that make sense, right? So if you're selling baseball gear and your ad is about a baseball mitt and people buy that, but they may also want to buy a baseball bat, right? So when they do, that increases the average order value. So that's what maximize value of conversions is, that it tries to get in front of people who will spend more money with you as opposed to doing a smaller single transaction. Now, the really important thing to note here is that when you test this with maximize value of conversions, you will get fewer overall purchases, but it may, again, may being the key word there, still be better for you from a return on ad spend standpoint, because each person ideally will be spending more money. And so therefore, even though you're getting fewer purchases, more revenue per purchase and your entire return on ad spend goes up. All right, before we go any further on maximizing value of conversions, I did want to make you aware that if you need help with your ads, whether it's Meta ads or Google ads, and you want to outsource to a professional team, you are in luck, because my team and I, we are currently taking on clients. So if you're a small business with a small budget or a large business on a large budget, we have a slew of different packages that make sense for where you are at inside of your business. Will meet you where you are. So I'll have a link in the description. Go ahead and click on that. You and I will personally hop on a Zoom call. We'll talk about your business, your goals, and from there we'll move forward with what makes the most sense. I look forward to chatting with you. Okay, cool. So now that we have an idea on what maximize value of conversions is versus maximize volume of conversions and how those two differ, who does this make sense for? First and foremost, if you're an e-commerce company, this is a no-brainer for you to actually test this. Now, again, when I say it's a no-brainer, I'm certainly not saying this is for sure going to get you good results. And I'll go about in a little bit explaining how you want to first approach maximize value of conversions. But when I say no-brainer, I mean it definitely should be on your roadmap within the next couple of weeks to test this if you are an e-commerce company. If you're not an e-commerce company and you're more of a service-based business that sells multiple products, you still could do it, but it depends on the flow of your funnel. So I often work with clients where they have a self-liquidating offer funnel, or a slow funnel for short, which typically starts off with a low ticket offer that can be anywhere from $27 to $47. And then there's a series of upsells and downsells right as they go through the purchase process. So even though it starts with that initial $47 purchase, oftentimes the average cart value ends up being higher because there are multiple purchases after that. So in that case, I think it also would be worth testing. Again, I'm not guaranteeing that maximized value of conversions is going to get you better results, but it is worth testing in that regard. And then lastly, if you are, let's say, a brick and mortar business and all you're optimizing for is to get people into your doorstep, then I wouldn't use this objective. It'd be really hard for having to be able to track back value of people walking through your front door because of what they saw in an ad, right? That's going to be a lot of a delay right there between the interaction with your ad and coming through the store and stuff like that. So I would avoid it if you're a local brick and mortar business. And then even if you're an online business and you just have one core product, which is rare, but at the end of the day, there are some businesses like that where maybe you're selling a single $67 product and that's it. Again, maximizing the value of conversions makes no sense because there can't be any increase in the average cart value. So there's nothing really for the algorithm to optimize for right there. All right, so now that we know who this is for and who it is not, here's how I would recommend approaching testing maximize value of conversions. Again, for a lot of people, a lot of businesses, particularly e-commerce, I do think this is a no-brainer thing to test, but by no means is it a guarantee that it's going to get you good results. So really, the first requirement in order to test maximize value of conversions is that you want to make sure that you already have a profitable campaign that's using the original default of maximize volume of conversions. If you're not finding success with the maximize volume of conversions, then I can almost guarantee, although I can't 100% guarantee it, but I can probably like 80% guarantee it, that you're not going to get good results with a maximized value of conversions because, again, the algorithm thrives off of the volume of data that it's receiving, and when you decrease the volume of purchases because you're now maximizing for value, it's going to be getting less data and it's just going to have a very difficult time to get the right results for you. Whereas if you already have a high performing maximize volume of conversions campaign, that can be running in the background. There's purchase data coming in from that, so you're good. And then you have your maximize value conversions campaign that you are testing as a side. And obviously you do want to give it a fair shot because remember, you are going to be getting fewer purchases overall, but hopefully at a higher value. So that means traditionally with a maximized volume of conversions campaign, we would say, hey, if you don't see any results within 48 to 72 hours, maybe kill the campaign or make any kind of change. I wouldn't say that for anything that is maximized value because, again, you're going to be getting fewer conversions, but hopefully at a higher revenue per purchase. So as a result, as opposed to the traditional kind of 48 to 72 time window of, okay, this is when you should be making some sort of judgment call, when you're testing this maximized value of conversions campaign, I would give it 5 full days, and it should be 5 full days during the week because weekend behavior is very different on the platform. So also, that means that ideally you will be launching this test on a Monday. That way, Monday through Friday, you can give it a proper test, and it should be at the same amount of spend as your maximized volume of conversions campaign, just to do a fair comparison. If you're doing like half the budget and it's already going to be giving you fewer purchases overall because of just the way it optimizes, it's going to be really hard to judge the efficacy of that if you're not giving it the same spend. So if your maximized volume of conversions campaign, which is already hopefully successful at this point, is spending $500 a day, this one, the maximized value of conversions, should also be spending $500 a day for 5 full business days, Monday through Friday. And then at that point, you can make a judgment call on whether or not it is worth continuing that campaign. Hopefully you found this interesting, and if you're in this bucket where it may make sense for you to test it, definitely do it sometime in 2026. We're towards the tail end of Q1 right now. I think it's a great goal to try this out by the end of Q1. If you have any questions about this topic, as always, just let me know in the comments wherever you are tuning in from. I do my best to get back to everyone in a timely manner. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you next time.